small businesses in India, small and medium businesses, I get asked this question a lot. What is ICT and how can it help me? And my response is always very standard to this. It's very easy. I think IT is like a very jargonized industry. Every month I can throw a new jargon. ERP, SCM, CRM, cloud, SaaS, XML. I can throw so much jargons that I almost think we are a fashion industry. Every month I'll release a new design. People will start buying that design. And when they are hooked onto that design, I'll release a new shirt. Go for it. So the point I'm trying to make is, it's very easy to jump on the latest bandwagon in IT. And I think early on in my career, I realized a lesson that, it actually is got nothing to do with technology. Every business owner, whether he's a small guy, medium guy, large guy, is only worried about one equation. And that equation you see on the slide. It's profit is equal to revenue minus cost. It's as simple as that. So if you can impact this equation, which means if you can drive up revenue or can bring down cost, then whatever IT you have in the back of your mind makes sense. If you cannot, then it doesn't make sense. Right? I actually happen to think that ICT is a very powerful force because like I'm showing on the slide, it can impact both your revenue as well as your cost. Right? It can drive up revenue by making you more productive, by making you connect with your customers better, by making you understand them better, and it can drive down your cost, right? By making you more efficient around your business, around your processes, by letting you communicate very cheaply. That's why I think ICT is important. But the number one thing is you need to apply it in the context of a business. Okay? So over the 3 years that we've worked together, I thought in this short presentation, what I'll do is I'll sort of share with you two things. One is the challenges that we think that inhibit IT adoption in India. And two is what are companies like Microsoft doing about it. And I thought that was relevant. So the first thing is, what happens when you think about IT with small businesses, right? The number one challenge is around awareness. And awareness really means, either people do not understand what IT is or they don't know how to start about adopting IT. Right? Should I start straight away with an ERP solution or should I start something like a file print server and then migrate to an ERP solution? There's no standard roadmaps. And all the jargonism that we do, that further confuses people. Right? So the awareness is a big issue. The second is relevant solutions. Okay? And the reason for this is that if you look at entire IT industry, including Microsoft or take any company of your choice, most solutions or products have been built in a mature market for the mature market. Right? So the needs of a mature market and the needs of a small business guy in India is very, very different, right? So if you try to bring that product and start to sell it here, the relevance is not there. So you need tailor-made solutions. You need solutions that have been developed in India for India, whether developed wherever, but at least for the Indian market. So that's where relevance comes in. Third, affordability is super critical, right? We have a very successful business, which I'm sure all of you know, which is based on this concept of selling licenses, right? We sell licenses. License is a very simple concept when it started. You go, you tell the customer, buy the license and you get the right to use the product, which is fine when you are aware of what that product can do for you. But when you talk about small businesses, they are normally not aware of what IT can do for them, right? So they are not going to dole out lakhs of rupees to buy that license. And therefore, the approach of pay as you go and try and buy, right, works like a charm. At least that's been our experience, and I'm sure or most of you will agree. That's what the concept of SaaS and cloud computing in terms of business is. The last point, I think, is where it has been Microsoft's historical strength, and which I think is absolutely critical when you think about India, right? And that's the point about sustainability, right? No matter, you may have the best technology on this planet, you may have the best cloud with a lot of rain inside it, right? But as long as you don't figure out a sustainable way to work with customers, to engage with customers, to support these customers, and to make sure that you're constantly engaging with them, that technology will not be successful, right? And that's where I think the partner ecosystem in India is very critical, because India, and this is my favorite saying, India is not a do-it-yourself country. It's not a DIY country like the Americans call it, right? It's a do-it-for-me country, right? Even if I'm a 5-person shop, I will expect that somebody will come, will tell me what the product is, will deploy it for me, and then will show me what benefits I can get. So I thought it was important to share that these are some of the, I think, the critical challenges that you face when you think about IT adoption in small business. So what are we doing about it? Well, as a company, we've sort of taken a very holistic view of this move towards cloud computing, right? Most people think it's all or nothing. Most people will say actually the software model is gone, the SaaS model is in. We actually think it's not like that. Microsoft's view is it's actually the power of choice, right, that we need to give to all the customers. What does this power of choice mean? What we are trying to say is there are certain sections of people who will always take software because they want the control. There are a variety of reasons why they would want to own and run their own software, right? And there are a certain section of people who will want to go on services or on the SaaS model or on the cloud model. Our responsibility as Microsoft is to give them that choice. That means every single product of Microsoft will be available both as a software as well as a service, right? Think about it like this, right? The software world is like, think about it in terms of cars, right? Everybody wants to own a car, correct? That doesn't mean taxis is going to be dead. Taxi is like your SaaS model, right? Where you rent, you don't care about what the taxi is or what car it is. You just basically pay the money for your use, go from point A to point B, and then you leave the car. You don't have to maintain it, right? So just because taxis are there, people will not stop buying cars. And just because cars are there, it doesn't mean taxis are not going to be there, right? There is going to be a world which both has cars as well as taxis running in it. Our vision is to make sure that every technology that I get out of Microsoft is available as a software and as a service so that people have the choice to consume it the way they would want to consume it. And more importantly, what you're seeing on the bottom of the slide, that experience is the same across the three screens, right? Whether you're on your desktop or you're on a browser or you're on a mobile phone, that experience should span it, okay? So with that, keeping that in mind, in India actually about 6 months back, we launched the first service called Microsoft Online Service, right? What is Microsoft Online? It's basically a set of products that people have used a lot actually all over the world. It gives you your entire communication and collaboration needs. That means it gives you your email, it gives you a portal, it gives you web conferencing, and it gives you chat, all packaged together as a suite available as a service, right? And this is really affordable because unlike earlier days where you would have to go buy a Microsoft server, install it, buy the license, do the whole jing bang, which would cost you a lot of money, this service starts as low as 97 rupees a month. Okay, so that's where you can see that the same software which, let's say, a Coke or a Reliance or a Maruti, name the biggest company, would be running as a software, okay, is now available for small businesses. They don't have to run it, they just have to pay it on a pay-as-you-go basis, right, and they can still get the same functionality. The beautiful part is, it is always sold by partners, not sold directly by Microsoft. So I talked about the sustainability point earlier, right, why partners are so critical, and you will see that Microsoft Online is actually sold by partners so that they can provide the hand-holding, the support that's required to use this service. Now, some critical points that you would see on the cloud. First point is it's got integrated capabilities, right? So instead of you buying hosted email from player 1, going and buying portal from player 2, a web conference from player 3, and having 3 different mechanisms, this is every goodness coming to you. It works across your PC, across your browser, or on your desktop, or on your, you can walk into any cyber cafe and even then log in and your email is right there, okay? Second thing is, look at the value, and I think this is where the value starts coming in. It has built-in security, okay? You can encrypt these messages, and it's got filtering. So anybody who runs email, I'm sure you would think that the #1 nuisance on email is either spam, which is unwanted messages, or viruses, right? Now, if you're a small business person, you will actually have to employ someone very qualified who understands what is antivirus, what are updates, what are patches. All the pains of IT is completely gone away because Microsoft does this for you, right? So these are all servers that are hosted at our data center. We maintain them. We make sure they are secure. We make sure they are virus free. We make sure they are spam free. As a customer, you just have to pay for the service and that's about it. There is no other headache that is coming there. So from an affordability and an ease of IT point of view, this service is, and we are seeing some good results which I'll share in a minute, but that's where this service is really important. Second, I talked about flexible deployment choices, right? You'll realize that with most SaaS players, it's an all or nothing choice, right? You either are online, that means everything is online. And so what happens when your cord is pulled out? Or your network dies? Or you move out of a Wi-Fi network? Or your network is down? In India, it's pretty common. You lose access to all of that functionality, right? Whereas in Microsoft Online, you have the choice to be flexible. And what do I mean by flexibility? Well, I'm describing that in 3 ways. First, you have flexibility by workload. That means all those 4 services that I talked about, email, portal, conferencing, and chat, you can either buy them individually or you can buy them as a suite. Depends on your requirement, what you're trying to solve. Okay? 2, you don't have to pay for it completely through your nose on that. If you have, let's say, your head office and 400 branch offices, your head office can take the full functionality, okay? Whereas your branch offices can take slightly lesser functionality. So you have flexibility to see how should I deploy using my roles. And third, you have, flexibility to run part of it on-premise as a software or part of it as a service. So again, like I said, this is our promise and our strategy really to make sure that any technology that we bring out, it's not just about Microsoft Online, 3D as a licensed version as well as a software as a service version where you can do pay as you go. And obviously ease of use, because you get one point to manage all of your services from one place, and you have one username and password which you have to remember for the rest of your life to access all these services, versus if you were to go 2 different services. Now, since the time we actually launched in India, about 6 months, we've got some encouraging response. Today we have over 3,700 organizations that are actually actively trying these services out. We have more than 500 partners who have signed up to actually resell these services in the India market. So when you look at the whole map of India and you look at 590 partners, it's not some one big Microsoft that you have to deal with. The smallest person will have a partner who he can go to for support, for deployment, for any other query that he has, so that the sustainability aspect that I talked about is very clear. Now at this stage, I will also say that we've been running this project called Project Vikas for the past 3 years. I run Project Vikas. Project Vikas is a joint initiative between the Government of India and Microsoft, where we said, let's take a focused effort to see how can you provide ICT or information technology to small businesses in clusters in India, right? You have one very big cluster very near to you, which is put very extensively over the period. And all the challenges that I talked about are really learnings that Microsoft has had over the past 2 years as we work with these people. So, we've done, across the board, as you can see on the slide, we've driven IT awareness sessions. We have actually spent time understanding the cluster so that relevant solutions can be built, and we just don't bring any other solution to the market. Affordability, I already spoke about. Microsoft Online is a big step in how we are addressing affordability by making sure people have the choice to pay for the software upfront or pay it on a sort of an installment basis, as depending on what their budget or their pocket allows. And then again, making sure that we have a sustainable ecosystem, and it's not just Microsoft selling this directly, but really a whole network of partners who can go and sell that. So finally, my parting thoughts would be, I think the unique value that Microsoft provides to small business can be summed up in 3 ways. First, we don't